Mike Compromises in Life. Part 1. A Boy with Big Dreams. Mike Turner was born in Greenridge, a small town where time seemed to pause. His world was simple, mornings filled with fog and the whistle of passing trains, evenings with crickets and the soft hum of his mother's sewing machine. His family was not poor by spirit, but the money they had never lasted. From childhood, Mike stood apart. While his brothers played ball or rode bikes, he sat under the oak tree reading about bridges, engines, and space. He wasn't just dreaming, he was planning. His notebooks overflowed with sketches and calculations. "One day," he told his mother, "I'll build something that will last longer than I do." High school confirmed what everyone already knew. Mike was a genius. But being smart didn't pay bills. He worked evenings at a gas station, tutored kids, and still managed to top every exam. His goal was clear: earn a scholarship, get into a top university, and become an engineer. And he did. His acceptance letter came with a full scholarship. It was a ticket out. The night before he left, his father gave him a firm handshake. "Don't forget who you are," he said. Mike smiled, not realizing how hard that promise would be to keep. Part 2. The First Compromise. University was a different world. Skyscrapers replaced cornfields. His roommate drove a car that cost more than his family's yearly income. Mike kept to himself, studied hard, and rarely joined parties. He couldn't afford distractions. But during his second year, his father had a stroke. The call came at midnight. His mother's voice cracked as she explained. Mike packed and boarded a bus home. Back in Greenridge, the factory where his father once worked offered Mike a temporary job. "Just until Dad recovers," he told himself. He worked 12-hour shifts. Steel, smoke, and sweat became his life. College seemed like a different lifetime. At first, he tried to continue studies remotely, but exhaustion made focus impossible. He compromised again. Years passed. His friends became engineers, managers, travelers. Mike became a provider. He helped his brother get into college, paid for his sister's wedding, and nursed his father. At night, he looked at the old notebooks tucked under his bed. Dreams faded, but duty never did. Part 3. Love and Letting Go. Mike met Sarah at the grocery store. She was a cashier with a quick smile and gentle voice. She loved poetry and sunflowers. They began talking during his weekly visits, then met for coffee, then dinner. She was the first person to ask him about his dreams. "I wanted to build things," he told her once under a starlit sky. "I still do, but I had to stay." She didn't judge, she admired him. They married the next spring in a small chapel surrounded by family and friends. Sarah brought light into Mike's life. She encouraged him to draw again, to read, to dream, even if just a little. Together, they made a quiet life. Mike continued working at the factory. Sarah started teaching at the local school. They hoped to have children, but after years of trying, doctors confirmed what they feared. It wasn't likely. That night, Sarah wept. Mike held her and whispered, "Maybe some dreams aren't meant to come true. But that doesn't mean life can't be beautiful." Another compromise. They filled their home with books, rescued a stray dog, and volunteered at the town center. They made peace with the life they had, even if it wasn't the one they planned. Part 4. The Unseen Battle. In his 40s, Mike was promoted to supervisor at the factory. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid better and gave him time to help his mother, now battling arthritis. One day, while cleaning the attic, Mike found his old blueprints. He stared at them for hours. The designs were rough, the ideas wild, but his eyes lit up for the first time in years. Sarah noticed. "You should build something," she said, "even if it's just for fun." Mike turned their garage into a workshop. He began tinkering, small machines, wind turbines, solar-powered lamps. Some didn't work. Some did. Neighbors started asking him for help with repairs. Kids stopped by to watch him work. Sarah called it Mike's little world. It made him happy. But just when life felt whole again, Sarah fell ill. It was cancer. Mike sat by her side through chemotherapy, sleepless nights, and painful silences. "I'm sorry," she whispered once, "for not giving you more." He kissed her forehead. "You gave me everything." She passed away in winter. The world went quiet. For months, Mike didn't enter the garage. The blueprints gathered dust again. The house was colder, lonelier. He had no children, no wife, no career, only compromises. Part 5. What remains? One spring morning, a teenage boy knocked on Mike's door. "Are you Mr. Turner?" he asked. "My teacher said you used to build cool stuff." Mike nodded slowly. "I want to be an engineer," the boy said. "But I'm terrible at math. Could you help me?" Mike hesitated, then smiled. "Come in." Word spread. More kids came. Mike began teaching in the evenings. He reopened the garage and turned it into a learning center. He called it the Little Builders Club. They built simple machines, solar ovens, toy bridges, model engines. Mike saw a part of himself in every child's eager eyes. He became a local hero, not because of wealth or fame, but because he gave his heart. He taught, inspired, and listened. Parents said he gave their children something school couldn't: belief. Years later, a former student, now a successful engineer, invited Mike to speak at a university seminar. He was nervous, but Sarah's words echoed in his heart. "You should build something, even if it's just for fun." He stepped onto the stage and told his story about dreams, duty, love, loss, and life. "I didn't become what I planned," he said, "but I became someone who mattered. That's enough." The crowd stood and applauded. Epilogue, the final note. Mike passed away peacefully at 71. In his will, he left his home to the town with one request: the garage must remain open for dreamers. A plaque outside reads, "In memory of Mike Turner, who gave up his dreams so others could find theirs." And so, even in death, Mike kept building. Not machines, but people and hope. Legacy in the wind. The garage-turned-workshop stood still in the early morning light. Dust particles swirled through sunbeams that streamed through cracked windows. On the old workbench sat the first model wind turbine Mike ever built. Tiny, rusted, but still spinning slightly with the breeze. It had become more than a machine. It was a symbol of quiet resilience. After Mike's passing, the town council, with community support, transformed the house into the Mike Turner Innovation Center. Children came after school. Volunteers taught mechanics, design, and even ethics, emphasizing what Mike stood for: selflessness and grit. A girl named Elena, once too shy to speak in class, discovered her passion for coding in the garage. A boy named Jared, raised in a broken home, found structure in Mike's notebooks and followed in his footsteps to become a mechanical engineer. Every year, on Mike's birthday, students and townsfolk gathered to share stories. His siblings, now grown and successful, often attended. His brother Peter, now a doctor, would say, "Everything I am is because Mike didn't walk away when he could have." One year, Elena, now a robotics student, brought her latest project, a small robot that can carry books and navigate steps. "It's called compromise," she said with a smile. "Because sometimes when we give up our path, we help others find theirs." The mayor unveiled a statue of Mike outside the center. It wasn't grand. Just him in overalls, a notebook in one hand and a wrench in the other, eyes looking up. The plaque beneath read, "He dreamed in silence. He served in shadows. He built a future with hands worn by sacrifice." Closing reflection: the measure of a man. Mike Turner never appeared on magazine covers. He didn't own a mansion, but he left behind something greater, a community that knew what real strength looked like. His life was not one of loud victories, but of small, steady kindness. He compromised, yes, but not out of weakness, out of love. And in that love, he built something eternal.